great pleasure of having Mrs. Durst's second grade students here this evening to come up and do the pledge. So everyone that's from Mrs. Durst's class, if you could come on up. We're going to ask Mrs. Durst to come up with them. Is that everyone?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And guys, hey, wait, hold on, guys. Wait. Let's have everybody come up. Guys, come on back up and look back. There's a camera back there, so turn around so everyone gets to see the great kids from Mrs. Durst's class that did the pledge. Good job. Thank you very much. Okay, next I'll do roll call. Andy.
Here.
Bridget.
Here.
Jeff.
Here.
Dan.
Here.
Rob.
Here.
Tracy.
Here.
And I am here. Next, a motion would be in order to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved. Support.
Is that Jeff? It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next on our agenda is our True Blue moment. And every month we honor something exciting or interesting, good that's happening in our district. And this month we have two items. First, the month of February was Administrator Recognition Month. And at our February Board of Education meeting, our administrators were all at another event rather than the board meeting. So we wanted to take this time to be able to honor them. And so if I could get our administrators that are here this evening to all come up front here so that the cameras can see you as well. Oh, yeah, all the way up. Okay, please stay there. Dr. Olson has something to say first.
Well, first of all, it is a great pleasure working with all of you. You really make a great team, and it's been a wonderful 4 years while I've been here. Just getting to know you and the sharing that you do and the amount of effort and caring that you contribute to our district. I'd also like to share with the crowd a few words from Governor Snyder in recognition of February 9th through the 15th being Principals Week. Whereas energetic and inspiring school leadership is essential if teachers, schools, and districts are to implement college and career preparatory standards and assessments for Michigan students, and whereas K-12 school principals play a vital role in the success of students and act as a liaison between the school and the community it serves, ensuring that parents and taxpayers are aware of student and school achievements, and whereas Michigan school principals are dedicated, quality educational professionals committed to providing sound leadership and guidance to their staff and students. And whereas during this week, we join the educators, parents, and students throughout Michigan to raise awareness of the importance of educational leadership and to recognize and thank all principals working in Michigan school districts for their exemplary service. Now therefore, I, Rick Snyder, Governor of Michigan, do hereby proclaim Sunday, February 9th through the Saturday, February 15th as Principals Week in Michigan. So thank you very much for your service, even though it's a little bit later than February 15th. You've got one more month of dedication there.
And on behalf of the Board of Education, we want to thank all of you. It is not an easy job to lead the areas in which you lead. We know that. And we know that every day you come and give the best that you have for our students and our district, and we truly appreciate the work that you do and for being part of Richmond schools. And so we have a little certificate of appreciation. And it's alphabetical order, so I'm going to get this down. Ms. Borick, Becky Borick, our middle school assistant principal. John Bordeaux, our high school assistant principal. Thank you. Sue Bevins, our food service director. Thank you. Deb Michon, our high school principal. Thank you. I guess it wasn't alphabetical order. Anthony Burkmeyer, our curriculum director. Thank you. Oh, Vicki, come on up here. We are honoring all administrators. Keith Bartels, our middle school principal. Jim Benoit, our elementary principal. Dave Mylart, our athletic director. Thank you. Vicki Lasky, our business manager. Thank you very much. And we also have Shirley Mastuchewski, who is our special services director. She wasn't able to be here this evening, but we thank her as well. Thank you. Next, we have 4 very exciting kids to honor this evening. What I'm going to do, I'm going to call you up one at a time, but I'm going to ask if you'll stay up here until I'm done with the whole presentation, and then all of the board will recognize you. We are very fortunate and excited this year at Richmond that we have 4 state champions in our midst. We have 3 wrestling state champions, and we have 1 bowling individual state champion girl. Yay. And so we want to acknowledge them. And I'm going to start out first with Erin Kilburn. Erin, if you could come up. Erin is the 112-pound state champion. Erin's in 10th grade, and he had a tremendous season this year. At the state tournament, he allowed only 3 points against him during the whole time that he wrestled, which is amazing. And if I'm correct, Erin, you were at the state tournament last year as a freshman, correct? Mm-hmm. Came back this year and got himself to be a champion. So we congratulate him on a job well done. Next, we have Devin Skatska. Devin is a junior at Richmond, and he was the 152-pound state champion. Devin had made some pretty interesting things happen at the state tournament this year. He became Richmond's first 3-time individual state champion. He won in his freshman and sophomore years. He pinned his way through the entire state tournament, which is an amazing feat in itself if you think about it. Next year when he is a senior, he has a chance of making a huge name for himself in high school wrestling. There are only 18 young men who have won a state championship all 4 years in individuals. So he has a chance of being the 19th wrestler to do that in the history of wrestling. And I believe it's Devin and another young man from St. John's, is it, that there's going to be 2 of you that have the chance to do that? Davison? Yeah. Thank you. From Davison, so there'll be 2. If Aaron, when Devin gets there next year, he has the chance to make some pretty good history. So we acknowledge the tremendous effort that he gives, and he's given all 3 years to get himself another state championship. Devin Scatz. Next, we have Heather Brucey. Heather is a senior, and she won the school's first ever individual state bowling championship, boy or girl. She beat a girl from Alma, and this just totally impresses me beyond anything, that in the final match against this opponent to win the state championship, she beat the girl by 105 pins. So she made herself quite a statement. And I also did a little reading up about Heather, and Heather, if this is correct, previously you've been to the state tournament and the best you had finished was 21st?
Yeah.
Yes? Yeah. Yes, see, I read about you. And so to come back and to finish her high school career to be a state champion is phenomenal. So Heather, we congratulate you on that feat. And last we have Jake McKernan. I think, yep, I saw Jake come in. Last but not least, Jake is a senior, and he is our 189-pound state champion. Jake also, I've watched him wrestle. To say that Jake is a determined wrestler is probably an understatement, but he's very fun to watch, has been very fun to see him out there at his matches. And Jake went up against a defending state champion, Teddy Warren, from the dreaded Dundee. And this year, Jake showed him who was champion, and it wasn't Teddy Warren and it wasn't Dundee, it was Jake McKernan from Richmond. So we congratulate Jake on that and on a great high school career. And real quick before we give our certificates, we want to acknowledge our coaches, our bowling coaches, Jim Gostovich and John Essemacher, if they could please stand up. Thank you. And our wrestling coach, Miss Brandon Day, is back there. Brandon, a little wave. Thank you. And I know Mr. Skatska is back there. He is an assistant coach. We thank you for what you do for our students. And just a little word to our state champions. It's tremendous to be a state champion athlete, but always remember that it's way more important to be a state champion individual. And people are looking at you. They know who you are. They talk about you. And thank you for representing us as well as you do, making us look good and our whole school community. Congratulations. There they are, our state champions. Congratulations. Yay. Okay. While our board meetings are very exciting to us, we know they're probably not really exciting to some of the people that came here tonight, so we're going to take just a couple-minute break. Anyone that would like to leave, you are welcome to leave, or if you'd like to stay for the rest of our meeting, that's okay, but we're going to take just a break for a minute. If those that would like to get home can do so.
Where that is, there are 4 people standing in front of it. 4 state champs at the same time standing in front of it. Most schools never see them in a whole lifetime.
Too, because you can tell they felt like a little bit of a blur.
That cleared them out.
No, I figured, I'm looking at all those boys, they probably really
Thanks, Brandon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there you
Okay. All right.
6 people left.
Yeah, well. Next is our public comments. And that's the portion of our meeting. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to address the board, please do so. We just ask that you leave your name and telephone number so someone can get back to you. Anyone? Yep.
My name is Teresa Ranger. I'm a teacher, a fifth grade teacher at the elementary school. I just wanted to make a comment about, in regards to the scheduling of the superintendent interviews, that the Lee School staff does have parent-teacher conferences on April 15th. And I know there's some of our staff that would like to be there, but unfortunately we can't be there on the 15th because our conferences are forced.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Next, items of interest from members of the board. Does anybody have any different from our book thing?
I have some thank yous.
Go ahead.
I had the chance to be in some classrooms and read, which is always a wonderful experience to be able to do that. And so I thank Mrs. Schroeder and Mrs. Durst and Mrs. Ranger and Mrs. Corby. And I had a great time hanging out with your classrooms and being there and reading. So that was wonderful. And I guess I just want to make people aware too of, in our last curriculum meeting, we had a discussion, and I can talk about it later too when I talk about the committee things, but it just is interesting to me that our state legislature is not fully on board with the core curriculum plans and moving forward with that in a timely fashion so that we can make the appropriate decisions we need to make to move forward. And they're waiting until after the election to make that decision, and that's too late for school districts to make curricular changes. So I just say that out of concern for what that means for Michigan's kids and their futures, and there's just a need for us to contact our representatives and ask them to please move quicker on some of those decisions they need to make. And I think those are my 2 things.
I would like to make the board aware that our teachers union, working with our middle school administration, has elected to move to a 7-period day for the next calendar year. And that will provide more opportunities for our students. And I think if Mr. Bartell maybe could add a few details to that.
That would be great.
Probably could answer any questions that you have.
Hello again.
Absolutely. First of all, I want to applaud the staff of Richmond Middle School for thinking inside the box, as I like to say, within the parameters of what we have, being able to maximize our abilities within the confines of our budget and within the confines of our school and our daily structure. The 7-hour day is extremely exciting. First of all, it will allow us to lower class sizes, which with the increased rigor in the Common Core as it comes, it will allow teachers to have more opportunities to differentiate and do smaller group instruction, letting our high flyers, taking them to the next level while working with catching up students who are struggling. So that's very exciting. we will be able to offer 6th grade choir and 6th grade band, 2 separate classes. That alone will, and you'll hear in a few minutes when we go over the student council report that we're going to present on, that 6th grade choir and band will allow us to have bigger numbers in our 7th grade choir and band and in our 8th grade, and then that'll feed into the high school. Because as you know, just like with our athletic programs and many of our successful academic programs, the feeder programs are keys to our future successes. So we're real excited about that. We will have more Spanish and Spanish culture, because right now we're very tight on our Spanish offerings, but by offering additional hours, not only will we be teaching Spanish, but we'll be teaching more of the culture to get more interest in Spanish. Our art program, which at the high school has been known around the area and throughout the state through competitions of being an excellent program. We're going to be able to continue the basic design, advanced art at the middle school, so that when they get to the high school, they can be taken to the next level, because there's a lot of talent here in Richmond. And we're going to continue with that class, but we're going to offer a 2D art class and a 3D art class, 2 separate classes that Mr. Berkmeyer and I will be going over the curriculum for and bringing it to the curriculum committee to get the final stamp of approval. But we're extremely excited to be able to take the programs that are already successful and be able to build upon them. We're going to have a 7th and 8th grade theater class. We've never been able to have a theater class. Again, I think Mr. Applegate and the high school do a tremendous job with theater in Richmond, and this will just allow us to get to his kids earlier so that he can take them to the next level when they do get to the high school classes. We're also available to add more AARI classes, and that's that Adolescent Accelerated Reading Initiative. It's an intervention program, and we've seen phenomenal results with it so far in 5th and 6th grade. We're going to be able to offer that now in 7th and 8th grade, and it's so good that the doctor, it's Dr. Sharon Russell from the University of Michigan, we hosted a few weeks ago a training seminar on it, and our 2 teachers were showcased with the ISD and with other schools visiting. And I had another call today from another school next to us that is very interested in our recent success, and they want to check out that program. So we're able to offer more offerings there as well. So again, I applaud the teachers and staff for thinking inside or outside the box, however you want to look at it. And there will be no increased prep time or preps for any of the teachers, but they will be performing another 45 to 50 minutes a day. And so my hat's off to them for the kids.
Absolutely. It's great. Thank you.
Any questions? I'm sure there'll be more to come.
I'm sure.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good news.
Very good news. Okay, we, as a board, March is Reading Month, and so we, as board members, have brought this evening either a book that we're reading right now or a favorite book that we're going to talk a little bit about, and so I'll start with Jeff.
I'm reading Lone Survivor, which is a true story about Marcus Luttrell. We recently made a movie about it. My wife likes Marky Wahlberg, so any Marky Wahlberg movie we have to watch. So I figured I'd read the book first. And it's about Operation Red Wing and the SEAL Team 10 that in Afghanistan. There was only one survivor out of the whole SEAL Team 10. So I'm reading that right now.
Bridget?
Okay, well, I just finished, not too many people, but if you know my son, he's kind of a handful, but we love him. I'm reading the new Strong-Willed Child and How to Raise a Strong-Willed Child by James C. Dobson, which is giving me a lot of advice because I got my hands full with him. And then another one that I'm trying to tackle right now is Heaven is for Real by Todd Burpo, which is very amazing.
All right, I'm in the process of going to read one of Bill O'Reilly's books, Killing Lincoln. Most people know there's a whole series, whether you like Bill O'Reilly or not. I like fact-based stuff. I don't do a lot of personal reading because I get plenty in my military career, or now the board keeps busy doing other stuff. But I do like reading some of Riley's stuff, so I'll be reading Killing Lincoln.
Good. Tracy?
I'm next. Well, I am reading books, but I just thought I'd be a little unconventional. And I brought the latest piece that I performed with a student from Stony Creek High School who's a saxophone player, just because music is reading. And I'm just taking notes and I'm turning them into music and interpreting them. And she played this at State Solo Ensemble on Saturday at Stony Creek. And she's really quite phenomenal. And I had my fingers full, let's just put it that way. I was trying to keep up with her because she was all about presto. So it was a good time. But that's what I had my hands full with this last week.
Dan?
I am reading Happy, Happy, Happy with the Duck Dynasty, Phil Robertson. The kids enjoy watching the show there. He's controversial, he's got his opinions, but I like his honesty and his old school family values, so it's a little bit interesting to read a little bit more about himself and how he all got started. So.
Rob?
Yeah, it's kind of unconventional too, I guess. I've been reading the Little League rule book since the beginning of March because I have two boys in two separate divisions in the Little League I'm coaching this year. And there's so many rule changes from a 13-year-old and an 11-year-old. So when I want to disagree with the umpires, I want to make sure I know a little bit what I'm talking about. So it's quite in depth. So I've been reading this since March 5th, actually. I got it. So.
Dr. Olson?
One of the last snow day we had, couldn't go out, so I finished the talent code, and this is by Daniel Coelho. Greatness isn't born, it's grown, and this was a book I was interested in reading as a potential book study for our administrative team, because it talks about a lot of people that we might perceive that they have been born gifted and it just came naturally, and he does a study of those people and what kinds of experiences that they had that led to their greatness. And like Jessica Simpson always wanted to be, from the age of 2 years old, a singer, but she wasn't very good at it. And so it kind of gave that example and many more examples of famous people that we all know and admire, and things that we can do in the classroom and elsewhere to help develop those talents.
My book is called A Dog's Purpose. It is a book from the dog's point of view. It's A Dog's Purpose, a novel for humans. And it is the same dog. At the beginning of the book, he's a certain type of puppy, and when he dies, he's reborn as a golden retriever, and then he comes back as another dog, and it kind of comes full circle on what the purpose is for a dog, and it is just a tremendous, very fun book to read. And if anybody likes dogs or loves dogs, this is a book you absolutely have to read. It's a good story. Well, thank you. That was just our way. We wanted to let kids know and the public know that school board members read too, and we read all different kinds of stuff, so we just wanted to share that. Next, committee reports. Curriculum committee.
I have part two. Anthony shared with us information about science and looking at science and changing the way that science is working, and looking at and considering that. The administrators are having discussions about that. We had a discussion too about bond technology. It seemed like the day that we met was the day of the technology fair, if I remember correctly. And so there was some discussion about what had happened at that, and hoping for sure that classroom technology and training and all that needs to happen will be in place in the fall, and the one-on-one and more of that will continue to need lots of training and potentially looking at second semester next year for all of that to be going. Had a discussion, or I think he shared information with us about the multi-tiered support system, and working on continuing to get that in place. And then there was a discussion too about planning for offering services to St. Augustine's School next year, and it still does seem as though that is a good plan for us to with offering those services next year. So that's the things we talked about in part 2.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, next is the marketing committee. We met and we discussed a few different things. We talked about an idea that came up a year or so ago at our meeting with the city about banners, you know, something that promotes the school district, you know, how you see in some cities, you know, home of the Blue Devils or that kind of thing. And Dr. Olson had received some information from John Moore, so we kind of looked at that, and we're going to kind of go a little further into seeing if we can get that to happen. I'm supposed to make contact with the city, and I haven't done it yet, but I promise that I will. We also talked about the focus groups. Dr. Olson had met with staff, parents, just kind of getting a feel of what people are thinking, you know, of our school district and getting some ideas. And we had talked about, I had gone to a conference, school board president's conference, and superintendent was a speaker, and he talked about what they try to do in their district to get positive stuff out to the community. You know, how Facebook is an issue. Sometimes Facebook isn't our friend, and how they, each building level found a parent or two to be the positive speakers for the school district to get message out, you know, so when there's a message that says this terrible thing is happening, you've got someone out there that's saying, well, in reality, this is what the situation is, or, you know, what the good things are happening. And I know that Dr. Olson was going to talk with our administrators, and I believe I saw in the weekly report that a couple people were talking about having talked with parents or trying to work on getting that to happen. I think that's what I saw, but we're trying to get so more positive messages can come out about us sometimes than what we get. We also talked about the web pages, you know, each building, the teachers' ID pages, profile pages, kind of get those more uniform, and Anthony was working on getting so everybody kind of looks the same basic information is out there, and that there's good information that people can go and look and find out about our staff and that kind of stuff. So I think that was the gist of everything, wasn't it? Did I miss?
Dr. Olson and Anthony, just thank you for doing those focus group,
Yes.
following through with those and doing those. That was some fascinating reading, actually. So I don't know, were we going to get that information to other board members?
Yeah,
I certainly can.
I thought she
I
was
could
going to talk
email
with,
it.
after our meeting, you
I
were going to
just-
go meet with the administrators about it, and then, yeah, if we could just get that to the rest of the board.
Really, really great.
Interesting.
Great feedback, interesting
Mhm.
feedback to get, and especially the student ones.
Yeah,
The student group was really
yeah,
quite good.
very, very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Budget and finance, Jeff?
Budget and finance met on March 18th. We went over the claims and accounts. Everything looked to be okay. We also reviewed the 2014-2015 projected revenue and expenditures, and we are having another meeting on April 15th in regards to that. So we're looking for an update. We'll have another meeting on the 23rd as well.
With an idea to bring stuff back to the full board about budget.
Possibly a workshop.
Yeah, and possibly have a budget workshop in the month of April.
I know the month is busy, but it'll need to be done.
Right. Any questions? Thank you, Jeff. Next is our student representative report. Helene is not able to be with us this evening, and I did ask, and our administrators are going to be kind enough to come up and tell us a little bit what's going on in their buildings. Mr. Benoit, you want to start?
Thank you very much. I'd like to start off by thanking our PTO under the leadership of Mrs. Campbell. Have been very active in recent weeks in putting on events at school. As we kicked off the book fair, we had our Fiesta night held 2 Fridays ago with the exciting return of the Mad Scientist, which is a wonderful program, outstanding program. It's always nice to see the children enjoying themselves and learning science at the same time. Enjoyed that a lot. Also, the PTO sponsored the Donuts with Dad program. That was the first event at our school last Wednesday. The response was overwhelming, to say the least.
Yes, we do, Mark.
While we did have RSVPs, and were asked to have RSVPs, we didn't have a lot of walk-ups. So that contributed to the, but a wonderful scene of the teachers just walking down the hall and jumping in and getting involved and doing whatever they could to help out, along with the team of people from the PTO. It was really a nice event. Great to see the dads in the school, and to see that many people in the school at 7 o'clock in the morning. It was really nice, and I really enjoyed it a lot. Looking forward to doing something like that down the road as well. Our K Kids have been very active recently as well, with some fundraising efforts, and with a staff member at school who's going through some tough times with her illness. We've been raising some funds for her, so that's been going very well. Mrs. Durst has got the Lego Club going and meeting on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She's got her Tuesday group, she's got her Thursday group. They've been very, very active and doing a great job. Our after-school math program concluded last week, and I want to thank all the teachers and support staff who participated in that, of course, along with the parents who took the time to sign up their child to do that. And finally, I just want to give out my condolences to the Cooper family. Lost Jake Cooper recently, 19 years old, so my heart goes out to that family. So
Thank you.
That's our report.
Thank you.
Hello again.
Hello.
At Richmond Middle School, we're hosting our first, it's a Donuts with Dads, but we're calling it Tiger Fever with Dads. That will be this Friday. We're hosting it, but the PTA is going to piggyback with our event, and Paws is going to be there from 7 to 8, and then from 8 to about 9:15 or so. Paws is going to, Mr. Oshchuk's going to read Casey at the bat, and Paws is going to act it out. So that'll be interesting and neat to see. We did this about 4 years ago, and it was well received. Kids love seeing Paws. As soon as that's done, we're going to do a Clash of the Classes. The National Junior Honor Society and Student Council have done a Clash of the Classes. It's going to revolve around a baseball theme. Our students have been working extremely hard, all the standardized testing. Been working hard, cramming stuff in because of the days off of school. So we're going to reward them with a little assembly where the Clash of the Classes will be 5th grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th will all compete in different events. And then the winning class gets to get a surprise. They don't know what it is yet, but it's called Race to the Razor. And it's a fundraiser. It started this week. If kids in a class, like a 6th grader wants to participate in Clash of the Classes, they pay 25 cents, put a ticket in, and the National Junior Honor Society and Student Council are going to pull the names, and then they're like a tricycle race or a bat spin where you get all dizzy. Safe though. So that's going to be a nice event this Friday. And then the Race to the Razor, I can't give away what they actually win, but that's also part of the fundraising effort. That'll probably be in the weekly report this Friday. I don't want to give out that information yet. Web movie last week was Despicable Me 2. Several 5th grade students, along with the web leaders, watched it in Mr. O's room. PTA provided popcorn for the kids, and Mr. O and Mr. Hooks stayed and watched Despicable Me 2. Not a bad movie. It's about the 4th time I've seen it.
Well, minions are the best.
Yes, they are. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade to support our high school drama program will be traveling over here Thursday to watch Mr. Applegate's The Yellow Boat. Also to spark some interest as we send out those class registration, what classes they want to take next year, 6th and 7th graders that are interested in theater. It's a great segue into when we hand those out and say, hey, we're going to start a program here. The RMS 7th and 8th grade band performed quite well at their festival. They earned a Division II rating, and it's quite remarkable because our band is not very big, but they have a very unique sound. They did a nice job at sight reading, and for as small as they were, to give them a Division II rating is pretty remarkable. And Mr. Oshchuk and I talked, and we're excited about the 6th grade band and 6th grade choir so that he can build those numbers up. The choir qualified for the state competition. They earned a Division I rating, so we'll be sending off our 7th and 8th grade choir to the state competition in May. And last week, our 5th and 6th grade teachers and Mrs. Plagans do their annual readathon for March's Reading Month. And this year's theme was a pirate theme. And Ms. Bowick dressed up as a pirate, and kids got a kick out of that. And I just want to say one more thing. It shouldn't have slipped my mind, but it did, regarding the 7-hour day. We're going to be able to continue our advanced math track, and we're looking at other advanced tracks. That's to be determined with the teachers and Mr. Berkmeyer and myself. But our advanced math track is going to continue, and we believe that we've had pretty good success with that with Mrs. Van Ham, who's a high school math teacher, actually teaches the section of Algebra 2 down at the 8th grade. And there's no better gauge at that than her working with the 10th and 11th grade Algebra 2 kids and then 8th grade Algebra 2 kids. And she's done it for, this is going on 3 years now, and working our advanced kids through this junior class. This year will be the first group that had Algebra 2 as 8th graders, and Mrs. Van Ham said, the 8th grade class, when you put those advanced kids together, they hold their own and they perform quite well. So we're excited about that, but also I forgot to mention one of the most important aspects of what we do now with technology is Mrs. Campo, congratulations Mrs. Campo, who had a baby boy, who's out right now. But she's extremely excited to continue the video production class that she has going right now, and she wants to do a web design class, continue the video production class, and a word processing publication type class. So we're going to throw a lot of technology options to the students for them to get better with their skills as well.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hello.
The high school, well, as you stated earlier, we had the drug awareness night on the night that we had our last board meeting. We had over 250 students present, and we had probably about 30 to 50 parents. It went over really well, and hopefully we sent a message of some kind. I'm just looking at my calendar because I didn't know about this till prior to the meeting. Our choir did perform, both our choir and our chorale. Both got an excellent rating at festival, and both are qualified for the states. Our band also performed at festival. We did okay. We'll just leave it at that. We had NHS induction this weekend, and we inducted, and it's part of my PowerPoint, but we inducted over 45 students. It was our biggest class we've inducted in 3 or 4 years. So really good thing there. This weekend, we have our play. So on Friday night, 7:30, Saturday night, 7:30, or Sunday at 2, come see The Yellow Boat. I hear it's very good. I hear that you will cry before the play is over. That's what I was told, so we'll have to see. We did finish all of our, I forgot to back up, we did finish all of our testing. ACT testing is all done. Our MME is all done. Everybody is tested. And to say that, guys, is like, it's an accomplishment. We don't have any carryovers. The carryovers we had from last year, we got them to test. Every junior from whatever level has all been tested, and all of our carryovers are tested. So we will not have to worry about next year trying to catch up with any of the kids who were out sick or without. We pulled them in, we drove them in, we did whatever to make sure we had them all here. So that was a big accomplishment at the high school to get that all done. What's great is that I can put down that we have 100% tested.
Right.
I know, so that's really cool. Coming up, besides we don't have too much in April. We do have several banquets coming up. We have the Macomb County Academic Banquet will be in April. We have one student who made it and who will be honored that evening. We also have our BWAC banquet. It happens during the day. So we will have, I'll be eating out 3 nights in a row that week. And then we also have the Teacher of the Year Award. We have our teacher that was being honored or chosen at the high school will be out. So that'll be, I will not plan any dinners that week because I won't be at home. Okay?
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for doing that for us at the last minute. Next, approval of consent agenda items. A motion would be in order.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to our administrative items. Bond update. Dr. Olson?
Okay, well, we're just about ready to go for the sale of our second series of bonds. If you will recall, when we went to the voters, we were talking about 2 series, one in another 5 to 6 years. But the first series we actually ended up selling by splitting it. Part of it was sold before Christmas so that they could be tax exempt bonds. And so the second part of that is now being sold. And as soon as I get the final documents, I will put the posting on our website. If any of our community members are interested in purchasing our bonds, you may do so. And I'll have the contact person to contact on our website, and that'll probably happen within the next week. So be aware of that. Also, we had a large group meeting this morning with our architect, our construction manager, our technology, convergent technology, and our team to go over some of the final items. And they did a walkthrough of the building to make some final determinations on some things to be added to the blueprints, with the intent of getting the blueprints out for bid next week. So things are moving along on schedule. Now, all we need is no more snow days so the workers can get in and work this summer.
Exactly. Any questions? Okay. Next, our superintendent search update. The posting for the superintendent's position will be up on Friday, the 28th. And we have a meeting scheduled on Tuesday, April 1st, with Michigan leadership, Mike Wilmot, at 6:30. That meeting will be held here. And at that time, we will be going over applications, and we will set out our interview schedule and that from there. I spoke with Mike Wilmot today, and he said that there are lots of applications that are coming in, and just so the board knows, he will be emailing us something. The posting closes at 4 o'clock on Friday, so at some point this weekend, he's going to email us with some basic information on what he received so that we're ready for the meeting on Tuesday. And we have set the week of April 14th for interviews. I believe we set aside 3 different dates, and so how we do, we'll firm up those dates on April 1st. So it'll depend how many people we're going to interview and how many days that we're going to do the interviews. So after April 1st, we'll know exactly where we're going with our interview process. Did you have something else? Oh, we know you're next, aren't you? Okay. That's it with the superintendent search. All the interviews will be conducted here. They will be posted, and we will make sure for all staff that information is sent out exactly the times and everything, so those that want to be here can attend. Any questions? No? Okay. Next, our high school spotlight, Mrs. Michon.
Good evening again. What I thought I would do is, we started a lot of new programs last year, and I shared them with you in my spotlight last year. All of our AP classes, our critical reading, our readings we did, our math support we did, our student study teams. So I thought I'd give you some data and show you some things that we've done and how we've improved it or changed it, and also give you a few things. I tried to do a balance this year, a little bit of everything. So we're going to start off first with some of the programs and some of the things that we've done last year, so you can see how we've improved. AP courses, you will be glad to know, if you look at our numbers there, we have a huge demand or a huge increase in the number of students who are requesting AP courses here at Richmond High School. If you look at the numbers, you'll see that the gray bar, kind of gray, shows you the request for next year. Both of our English classes are up. We have full classes. AP Government is full, and then our calculus it's getting there, but it is on and up. So we've done a great job there. We are also looking at, we have AP Biology currently on, but we are not going to be offering it for next year because we did not have the numbers. But due to the change in the math curriculum, and Tracy mentioned that AP Biology and AP Chemistry is going to be a demand here once we change over in a year. So I'm sure that we will fill those classes because we need to change because of the new math requirements. So we're not, I'm not concerned about them. AP History, World History will be new. Dr. Ladd will be approaching that in a year. He's going to go through and do the training and the testing. And then that way we're going to, those classes are all offered to our juniors and our seniors. They can earn credit if they take those AP tests. And we're kind of switching around where we're doing them so that we make sure that we meet the needs. We had AP Government like first semester. We're switching it now next year to second semester, so those kids will be right there to take that test once they're done. So we've definitely got an increase on the number of kids who are taking AP classes here at Richmond. Our vocational and fine arts program, these continue to remain strong here at the high school. We have full classes in art, choir, chorale, band, and theater for next year. Our new class, criminal justice, if you remember, we started it this year with 18 kids. I have 25 kids registered, and that doesn't count the Armada kids that we pull over. We will fill that class up. We are also looking at the medical assisting program. We thought we would get that going in the fall. Again, our demand is a little low on that, so we're not, but we are working on it. We're going to do some marketing. Hopefully we'll have that in place during the 15-16 year. Our corrective reading. These were the students that we know were struggling in reading. And again, I know the graph's a little hard to read, but those are the 15 students that currently are in that class. We had 9 last year when we started it in January. 2 of them were able to complete it and move out of the class, and then we had 1 move. So there are 6 students that are in there now, plus an additional 9 from this year. The average increase is a 7.8. Any student that is over 81 here at the end of the year, they will be successful. They'll be at a 7.5 grade reading level. We will remove them out. So if you look at the numbers there, again, there was only one student in there who has not grown in their reading level, and they grew, they went down, and then they went back up. But if you look at how many we have over 80, I think there's about 9 of them I counted that will be successfully have completed the program and going back out. We are then monitoring those students to see how well they're going to do in their academic courses. So again, it's kind of a time here as we move along to see where they're doing. But so we've had some major growth in some reading levels. And hopefully we will continue to do that. We'll get new kids in there as we retest them. I'm working with Mr. Bartels now to arrange the testing of our current 8th graders. Our Algebra 2 support class, again, new last year. We had 25 students in it last year. Of the 25, 16 had failed first semester of Algebra 2. With that support class, 11 were able to recover their credit from first semester and also gain credit for their second semester class at the same time. This year we have changed that program because we wanted to start working with all of our students who were struggling in any math levels. So we went to a new software package. It's called the Carnegie Math Support, and we currently have 10 students in there that are at all levels. They're at Geometry, Algebra 1, Algebra 2, who are struggling in there, and they're getting support now. Besides their regular class, they're getting the Carnegie program. And what it does is they test, and it helps pick the areas that they're weak in, and that's where they get instruction. So it individualizes what's going on in there so we can meet whatever students are in that class. I won't be able to have data again on that until next year because we did change it. So next year I should be able to provide you what has happened with these students in the Carnegie program. Our student case studies, I just put the names up there. That's our new team this year. We currently have 17 students on there. They are currently receiving a variety of services. We have our parapros again working with some. We have counseling is working with them. We have organization dealing with stress. Some of them have really talked about the stress. So we're kind of working with them. We've got social worker help, and then Mr. Bordeaux is trying to keep them out of trouble. We have currently 8 students who no longer need a Tier 2 or Tier 3 intervention, and they are functioning successfully. We actually have one young lady who was on there last year that is doing all A's and B's right now in our Tier 1. So she's successfully, being able to operate and handle herself and do everything in the regular general ed classroom. Our National Honor Society, as we talked, we currently have 105 students in this building are on National Honor Society. That is 16% of our student body. We inducted 45, as I stated earlier. This is the highest class of inductees in the last 3 years. And just to let you know, they do have to maintain a 3.5. They have to have 20 hours of service and 10 hours of fundraising. My sidebar comment is our grading scale did not affect the number of kids that we have currently into NHS. If anything, we have grown. So I did, my second part of this was, did you know what we have going on or what's going on this past year? Did you know that we have 5 students published in the Macomb Daily in the CTE section? They have a big open spread. That we have the whole page was all our students. They wrote the articles. So we have one whole page. So we have 5 students that have published work. Our robotics team this year has already received the Quality Award and the runner-up for Safety Award at the Centerline District. We started that 2 years ago with 7 students. We are now up to 14 students and have 8 girls and 6 boys. They will be, by the way, competing, oh God, not this coming weekend, but the following weekend in Troy. If they qualify, the following weekend, they will be at States. If they qualify and go on there, in 2 weekends after that, they'll possibly be going to nationals, which will be a discussion at that point. So we'll see how they're doing. I've listed 2 of our students. Brianna Robinson, she received an honorable mention in photography at Scholastics. And Lauren Maximuk received an honorable mention in her drawing at Scholastic Art Awards. Did you know our choir has received, and I already said that, an excellent rating, both the chorale and the choir. They will both be going, or both will be, are qualified to perform at the state festival, and they are both going. Underneath it, I've listed all of the students who have participated in solo ensembles for chorale. You'll notice that we have, I think there's 2 of them there, that also will be competing in the state level.
This weekend.
This weekend. Thank you, Tracy.
Sure.
Our band awards. This is the first time in a long time our marching band received their first division rating at the MS BOA District 16 Marching Band Festival. Underneath that, we also have band students participating in solo and ensemble. And you'll notice that we have 2 students there that will be performing at the state level. Did you know, this one you probably do because these are all over the place. Our football team is the BWAC champs. Our cheer came in, they're BWAC champs. They came 4th in the state at MHSAA. Our girls basketball, 1A district, and this is the first time since 1993? 1993. We have a girls bowling. They came in 3rd in the MHSAA competition. Our wrestling were BWAC champs, district champs, regional champs, and state runner-up. And Jake Schmidt is an all-conference and all-county in basketball. We're going to jump to a little bit of what's going on as far as discipline and concerns at that area. I want to thank Mr. Bordeaux. He provided me with these slots and all these numbers. If you look at our discipline referrals are down. Last year at this time we had 328. This year at this time we have 110. We're down 68% in discipline issues in the building.
Oh.
Yeah.
And what do we attribute that to? Mr. Bordeaux, or did we change the criteria, or?
I'm going to say that we were going there or getting there. We just have some students, there was a group of students that, our last year's group of seniors, that we just had some major issues in. Some students didn't return. And I'm going to say Mr. Bordeaux.
Mr. Bordeaux. Go
So,
Thank you, Mr. Bordeaux.
Thank you, Mr. Bordeaux.
our incidences, just to give you an idea, what are the biggest problems in the building? Tardies. It just is. Failing to serve our detentions come in second, and then as you'll see going down some of the issues that we have going on in the building. But as you'll note that everything has pretty much gone down. Our tardies have gone down. We've really worked on that. So you can see that we've been working on trying to get we've instilled some new programs too that are some new rules and things, so that has also helped in the building. Here's just a breakdown of the tardies. You will see that our worst hour of the day is first hour. Yeah, first hour and then 5th hour, which is what falls right after lunch. So, just to give you some facts about the tardies. Tardies have decreased 9%. I already told you about the discipline. And there's our average daily attendance. You'll notice that we went up just a little bit. 94% though is pretty darn good in any given day at the high school. And that's it. And do you have any questions for me?
Not a question, but the robotics. Can you just email us like where that's at?
Sure
that
can.
kind of stuff. I know you've done it before, but if
Sure
you can
can.
just so if anybody's
Yeah,
able
if
to
you've
go.
never been to a robotics match, you need to go. It is phenomenal. It's not just the robot, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. They have a business plan they have to put together. They have marketing they have to put together. They have a safety plan that they have to put together. And then they have the robot. And the robot part is just phenomenal in itself. I mean, I'm amazed at how many teams and what they do. But it is definitely a well-balanced, it's not just the robot. I worked with Jake Mathis just about 2 weeks ago. We applied for a grant. Him and I wrote it together. So here's a student who's a junior in the building working with myself, and we wrote a grant to hopefully get some monies for our program. It had to be in like a week ago, so I haven't heard anything yet to see what happens. The group of kids that are in that are just phenomenal. They just have it together, and they speak well, and it's amazing. I mean, he wrote most of that grant. I mean, I tweaked it to make it fit and fall into the guidelines, but I would say he wrote 75% of it.
And for being so new at doing it.
Exactly.
Too, that's been pretty amazing.
It is. It really, really is. What we've accomplished with that group is just really amazing. I mean, the fact that we've won some awards already.
Right.
Like I say, this is our third year? Third year that we're operating.
And now we've got some girls interested.
We do. If you notice my numbers, I think the girls are more than the boys.
I know, this is exciting.
Yeah.
And
So
initially it was all boys.
Yeah,
So-
first year it was predominantly all boys, and now we have, the girls are more than the boys. You should see the girls too. You know, you all gotta wear your safety goggles when you go in there, and they're just as much working in the electronics part and helping put this thing together as, a matter of fact, to be honest with you, Jacob is more in the business end of it, and Potts, I can't think, Brandon, again, more on the business end of it, where some of the girls are right in there, they're soldering, I've seen them work on the robot when I went to the competition back a couple weeks ago. So it's just really amazing what they've accomplished. It's a really good program.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anybody, anything else?
No, good stuff. Thank you, Deb.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, next. Appoint a representative to the MISD budget hearing.
Okay, this is a traditional item that they need to meet their legal requirements. And so each school district is asked to designate someone to attend that meeting.
And it's Thursday at 7.
I would assume we want someone from budget and finance.
Doesn't necessarily have to be, no. I'm just going to put
I
it out
believe
right
they
there
do
that
serve
I cannot-
sandwiches.
I cannot go, so.
I cannot go, I have a teacher conference.
It's Jacob's birthday that day for me.
Yeah, baseball.
I work Thursdays between lunch and 45 to 8 o'clock, something like that. This is not this is the presentation of the budget. And then whoever goes votes for us. Is that how that works? I forget.
Is it?
Or is this just
Who
the
is gone?
presentation
I'm
of the
not,
budget?
I think it's just a review of the budget.
Because I've gone to that meeting before.
Yeah, I think this is just the review, Tracy, and then,
Yeah,
and then the full budget comes to all of us to do a board vote, right?
I think that's correct.
And then one of us has to go and fill out the ballot for us, for something. Do you remember having to go and do that?
Yeah, but I don't think it's.
I don't think it's this.
I don't think it's this,
because
because this is what we vote as a whole board to approve the ISD budget.
But in
I've
the
gone and
end,
done
their
the
board
voting
approves
thing.
their budget. They just
Right.
have to have all the participating districts have an input into it.
Somebody nominate me, I guess I'll go. Peer pressure. It's everywhere.
Someone like to make the motion to appoint Andy?
I move to appoint Andrew Oderkirk as the school board representative to attend the MISD budget review presentation on Thursday, March 27, 2014 at 7 p.m.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
Thank you.
Other than thank you very much for stepping up. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. MISD Parent Advisory Committee appointment. Dr. Olson?
Okay, the person that was serving on this advisory board, this is the advisory board for special education at the ISD, resigned recently, and Mrs. Majeska has suggested to us Kim Mattis, and Kim has agreed to be able to do that.
Meadows.
Meadows, I'm sorry. And Kim is willing to serve in this capacity, so you have the...
So do we need to make a motion to appoint her, or we just say thank you?
We do need to make a motion to appoint her. I didn't think we did, but that
We do?
check
Okay.
on that, we do.
Okay.
Make a motion to recommend Kim Medels to serve on the MSID Parent Advisory Committee as our district parent representative.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Other than please thank Mrs. Medaus for wanting to do that for us. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Next, 2014-2015 school calendar.
Okay, we have an agreement with the REA for a calendar for next year, as it is attached with one slight change, which I haven't had a chance to let you know of, Teresa. But in May 28th, there's a typo. It's on the calendar as the 8th, and that is, of course, May 28th. So that slight modification will be made. This is a calendar that reflects quite closely to our current calendar.
Okay. A motion would be in order?
Move the approval of the attached calendar for the 2014-15 school year.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
I would like to note for everyone that the revised school calendar for the current year is on our website, which informs you of when the snow days are being made up. Basically, it added another week.
Yep. Like everyone else. Okay, next, MEP scores.
All right, the 2013 fall MEP scores are in. They've been released to the public. We've seen some notices in the paper about where our school district fell, so we thought it would be prudent to go through those scores so that you guys have an understanding of our proficient levels. So this is a summary of our current MEP standing from our fall testing. Broke up by grade. The grades are across the top, and then you can see where Richmond falls with the county and state averages. So for example, if you look at the first column in third grade, Richmond's at 16% with county at 39 and the state at 40. We do see that we are a little bit lower on our math scores in the elementary level than we'd like to see and compared to the county or state. So we have some changes in place. We are working on our new curriculum this year, so we do expect to see those go up in the next year. Our teachers are working very hard on this, so this is something that we're looking at. We've done very well with reading. Science, we actually took second in the county at the 8th grade level, so we're doing very well. It's also important to remember what the MEP test actually is. It's a moving target that our teachers are trying to hit every year. While we do have our standards laid out, state does change what standards they're going to test on every year. So if we concentrated slightly on a different standard, that might hurt our scores up or down. So those are things that we're looking at, trying to track to make sure that we're being prudent and instructing our students to hit all the standards as we prepare for this test. Any questions on the overall part? So this is typically what gets published in the paper, but this really doesn't tell the whole story of Richmond schools, so that's why we want to go through some of this data a little more in depth. So one of the things that the state tends to track is trends over time. Unfortunately, the way the state tracks it, you're talking about a different group of students taking a different test every year. But in general, you can see over the past few years, for the vast majority of grades, as it's broke up by colors, we have been on an upward trend. We want to continue to see that move upward. We do have a couple downward trends there that we're going to work on. So this was our 5-year trend for math for 3rd through 8th grade. This is our 5-year trend for reading. Again, most of them are going up. We do have a couple that are going down that we're looking at our alignment with as well. Science and social studies are a little harder to track. They're only tested at 2 years, so you only have the 5th and 8th grade levels that you can track, but here are our trends over those years. So you're talking about a big span of time before those students are actually taking another MEP science test or MEP social studies test, but basically flatlined or grown in that 8th grade level. As I said, we were second in the county for our 8th grade final. Social studies, in both cases, we were able to show growth over that gap. And writing, we're, again, a little decrease, and then one with growth at the 4th grade level. Science, social studies, and writing are, again, only tested 2 years out of those grades. This graph is a little hard to explain, but I'm going to do my best here because this is really important as to what Michigan is really looking at in terms of our test scores. Michigan has a growth model where they're expecting to see students show growth even if they're not proficient. While they want students to be proficient, they want that growth to take place. And this is showing that Richmond is actually doing very good at that growth and very good at closing that gap. So what this does is take our 2012 MEP scores, and it's broken up into students that were proficient, and those were the black lines, and students that were not proficient, and those are the dots. And what they've done then is shown out of those students that were proficient in 2012, which is Richmond, right? Is that it? Richmond right there. Students that were proficient, about 19% of those showed significant improvement or improvement. So even though that they were proficient last year, they're even more proficient this year. And the even brighter part of that then are students that were not proficient last year. We're at 42% of them showed significant improvement, that are showing that they're either on track to be proficient or they have at least showed significant improvement or improvement from where they were last year. So that's our math. Same style with the reading. We're right here with reading. So we were looking at about 35% growth from our proficient students and about 59% growth of students that were not proficient last year are showing significant improvement or improvement. The even more telling story then is to track the same students' growth as they're going on. So the principals put together some slides that will show you how the same students are moving through the different groups.
Thank you, Anthony. As you mentioned, to take a look at a cohort of students. So in other words, we're looking at our 4th grade students from 3rd grade to 4th grade. So our current 4th grade students last year in 2012 in math were 16% proficient as 3rd graders. This year, they went up to 21% as a group from 3rd grade to 4th grade in math. In reading, our current 4th graders last year as 3rd graders were at 69% proficient. This year, now in 4th grade, 75% proficient. That's a look at our 4th graders. 5th grade, a 3-year comparison of this cohort
as third graders, 25%, as fourth graders, 32%, and as fifth graders, 25%.
And what do we think attributes the, going back to where you started from? Just any guesses or?
You know, when I have a lot of thoughts and there's a lot of data to look at with math, and it's an excellent question. One of the things we have to look at is our curriculum. And is the curriculum aligned with the need? You may recall we spent a year, the staff spent a year transitioning, analyzing, and working with the Macomb ISD consultant in math, Mary Ann Schrock, on a new math series, which we purchased and implemented this year. So going forward, the series will certainly help.
Does anyone look at, I'm not saying here, but overall from the testing, do you know where the trends were? Like, they've lost applications, or you've added stuff that they didn't get? That's what I'm trying to...
We have analyzed the data and where they're doing well and where they're not doing well at our staff meetings. In fact, the last staff meeting, Mr. Berkmeyer and Dr. Olson came, and I had them in groups, and I had a class out analysis item report and a summary report for them. The other piece to look at, and there's some data, and this is not an excuse at all, but there's some research to support that when students transition from one building to another, whether it's fourth to fifth, which is our case, or fifth to sixth, sometimes you'll see a little dip in the scores.
Okay, thanks.
Fifth grade reading. In third grade, they were 57%. As fourth graders, 68%. As fifth graders, 66%. So here again is the fifth graders. This is kind of a summary. Third, fourth, and fifth grade. So math, 25, and now back at 25 in reading. They went from 57, and they're at 66 now. We have, like I mentioned, I met with Mary Ann Schrock, who most people recognize her as the leading expert in Macomb County in mathematics. In fact, she is well regarded not only in our state, but nationally. She's actually working in the consortium on smarter balance testing for math. She is a test writer for math, for smarter balance. Even before, you may recall some time ago, we were announced as a reward school at Lee. Even before that announcement, I had gone down to her office in July of that year to meet with her, to schedule. We spent an entire year with her in professional development. She was probably out 6 or 7 times to meet with our staff as we transitioned from teaching the old curriculum and then transitioning to the new curriculum. So we spent all that time, and she was a lead for us as we transitioned to our new math series, which is Math Expressions by Houghton Mifflin, which Mrs. Smith can speak to. Her district adopted the same series. But in addition to that, we've done a lot of work. We've talked about the work that's being done. Mr. Berkmeyer talked about that. We've instituted our after-school math program, which we just completed. I instructed the staff to include math interventions along with our reading interventions, so we can do more interventions in the school. We purchased an intervention tool called Dreambox, which the children are using during interventions. and doing very well. And they'll be able to even use it at home. It's going to be great. We added some additional training for staff on DreamBox, which we just completed in our last PLC day. We conducted our last after-school program last week. We had a parent meeting. I talked to all the parents about DreamBox and all the wonderful tools that it has. So that was very well attended. You know, to me it's very interesting. It goes back to your question. You know, at the elementary level, the same teachers that teach reading teach math. They're equally skilled at doing it. We transitioned to a new reading series a few years ago, which really helped. Now we're transitioning to a new math series. So in the gaps or holes that may have been in our curriculum, which may not be aligned with the MEP test, could certainly contribute to scores that are lower in math than in reading. Because if the same excellent teachers are teaching math that are teaching reading, one would think you'd see similar scores. Unless, of course, there's holes in the curriculum. Of which is my job to make sure that those holes get fixed. So, I welcome any other questions that you might have.
Good, thanks.
Good, thank you.
The middle school MEP scores, the thing I want to stress is what we always look at for those that we can, and it's math and reading, is we can track the same group of kids, even though the test might be a little different, test different glicks, different areas of the content. We can track in reading and math the same group of kids as they go through the system. The advantage that I have that Mr. Benoit doesn't have is I can watch these kids from 3rd to 4th, 5th, 6th, and then I can see where those gaps are throughout the system. It's important to me because when you look at MEP scores and for math and reading, you can see where those kids were the year before, whether there was an increase or whether there was a decrease. And then when there's a decrease, obviously you can look into why. And with science, writing, and social studies, the only scores that you have are scores of classes of kids. Like this year's 6th grade class took the social studies MEP test, which is based on the 5th grade curriculum after a summer, 3 or 6 weeks into school in October. Now, supposedly that's all going to change, where these tests are supposed to be at the end of the year. So the 6th grade MEP social studies test should move to the end of the 5th grade year, so there's not that summer lag. So you're not spending 4 weeks, 5 weeks reviewing what you should have learned last year. So we should be able to pick up right where we left off and move and keep moving. And that will only benefit our children and our parents with that movable target that Anthony keeps talking about, or talked about. But the problem with the social studies and the writing and the science is from 5th grade you have a science test, and in 8th grade you have a science test. So in 8th grade you're testing 6th grade and 7th grade glicks. So you're looking at 2 years to test them. Well, that's too late. And we know that's too late as educators. That's why bringing in the NWEA and your support to pay for that financially has been huge, because now we can target, progress monitor, beginning of the year, where are they after summer? After we've taught them for a semester, where are they at and where are they at the end of the year, so that our educators can look at that and decide, okay, what do I have to hit more, or what do I have to hit less because they got it, so I can concentrate on this more. It's very important for an educator and also for differentiating. And then when you take the NWEA stuff, even before you get to that test, you have your daily formative assessments that are extremely important that lead to your chapter or unit tests. So the quicker the turnaround is for this data, the better. So as an 8th grade, we did second in accounting, and we're happy about that. But the most important thing about that is they grew 13% from the year before. But you would never see that in the newspaper. But again, that 13% is compared to this year's freshmen. It's not that group of kids grew 13%, but we scored 13% higher than our group did last year. So that is frustrating. And when if you were, which we don't, but if you were looking at only your meet data in 8th grade, well, then that's too late to think about or realize, are you getting it done in 6th grade, and are you getting it done in 7th grade? So that's why we really like the 6th grade meet, or not 6th grade, but the math and the reading, because we can track year over year and get a good gauge. So if you look at our current 6th grade math scores at 43%, well, as 3rd graders, and well, I can see on the screen here, as in 2010, as 3rd graders, they scored 28%, and then as 4th graders, they scored 36%, and then as 5th graders, they were 43%, and this year they're at 43%. So we flatlined. And we've already done this, but we dove into this data when it was first available a couple months ago. It wasn't released, but it was still available. So we dove into this to look to see where those gaps were in the curriculum, if you will, because we went from 43. We didn't go down, which is good, but we didn't grow. So we obviously have to, and we have, and we're looking into that data. Now, the one thing I want to stress and concern is, did we dive into this data? Yes. Did we spend the same amount of time that we did over the years past? No. That's because the test is changing again. So next year the test is going to be smarter balanced. It's supposed to be tougher. Well, we're going to look at this to see, okay, where are our gaps with this item analysis as a whole, as this group as a whole, and try to address those for next year, because that's the best interest of the kids. However, we're not doing it to score better on a test, especially since the test is going to be a lot different than it is now. So that's 6th grade.
What's your, on the last chart, what's your target, or what's the norm on increase? So between those 2 years, you got about 7.5% growth. So,
well, the state targets through our school improvement plan is about 5%. Sixth grade reading, as 3rd graders, they were at 69%, as 4th, 75%, 5th, 76%, and then this year as 6th graders, 80%. So to say that 80% of your kids are scoring proficient on a reading meet, that's pretty good. We're not satisfied with that, but it's pretty good. So then, as you can see, they're starting all the way from 3rd grade, and that 69% there is the very first score you can get, because that's the first year of the meet. So that group of kids, current 6th grade group, is on the right track. 7th grade math. Now this is where I would say that if you read it in the newspaper, it'd be misleading, because 34% is kind of around the state average. I don't have that right in front of me, but it's kind of around it. It might be a little bit under, but what it doesn't tell you is that the same group of kids last year were at 23%. So 23% to 34% is pretty good, pretty good increase over a year. But as 4th grade, they were 18. As 5th grade, they're at 24, and then we dipped to 23, and then up to 34% this year at 7th grade. But you can see from the time these kids entered school, or were tested, sorry, in 2010 to 2013, they went from 18% to 34%. So they are growing and they are improving, which is the most important thing. 7th grade reading. Did I skip one? No. Okay, 7th grade reading, as 4th graders, they're at 57%, 5th grade at 67%, and then they went from 67 to 67 again. Now, if you looked at the 6th grade reading this year, there was a 4%, approximately 4% gain. They went from 76% to 80%. So that it was a nice growth. Well, this year, with this group of kids, it was flat line. So we could look, and I haven't, but we could look in what was the difference in these 2 years. And up until last year, when I found out the meat was going away, I had an item analysis based on every single glick and the percentage of the amount of time over the last 10 years was this glick tested. So we could say, okay, is this glick tested only 10% of the time, and we bombed it here. So I was looking at the probability of what glicks were going to be tested to better our students' chances. I mean, the system's set up, you know, not to help our students, in my opinion. So, not our system, the testing system. So then in 7th grade, we went from 67 to 65% from last year to this year. Okay, 8th grade math. From 5th to 6th, we had not a very good year. And then we went from 11% to 27%, phenomenal growth. Back up better than when they were 5th. And then from last year to this year, 27 to 32%. So another nice growth. Now, I'm not laying excuses on this, but 2011 is when the cut score changed. And that's when proficiency went from a score of, let's see, what grade was that? 2011, 6th grade. So proficiency was 600 points the year before. Well, we target our interventions on those kids that were between 600 and 615 to get them over the bubble or get them to be more proficient. Well, then proficiency went from 600 to 630. So all those kids we targeted may have improved, but now they fell under proficient. So, you know, that's just getting caught up in the shell game of changing the target that these kids are going after. But we've responded, 11% to 27 to 32. 8th grade reading, as 5th graders, they're at 61%, and then 72% as 6th, and then a drop in 2011 to 67, and then a phenomenal year from 67% to 83% proficient. This is our current 8th graders. So last year they're at 67%. This year they're at 83%. We've talked about this a lot as a staff. You know, obviously you have to celebrate the small steps and successes. After our staff in 2011 or 2010, we got the Department of Education grade of an A for the first time in school history. You know, we celebrated, and our staff was pretty excited. And then a year later, the cut scores changed, so we went from an A to a C. And that was pretty hard to swallow. We went from an A, it was about 93% to 73% grading with the cut score change. And we were, you know, we were pretty beat up about it, and we didn't feel real good about it. But last year, after adjusting to the new cut scores and raising the bar on our teachers, not only our teachers, but on our students, we were able to grow 2 percentage points. And we were able to up our percentage, because I'm sure you've heard they went from, okay, we're going to grade everybody, to now we're going to color coordinate everybody. You get a lime green if you're 80% or above, and if you're below 80%, you get yellow. Well, we happen to be yellow, even though we were at 80%. So we were at 93, went down to 73. We didn't hang our heads, and we were back up to 80. We thought we should have had lime green, but that what we talked about earlier with the bottom 30%, that gap in growth wasn't enough to really zing us, but it was enough to knock us down a color level. And then now they're talking about going back to grades. So then from last year's, we don't know what our percentage is this year, that'll come out around August, but from last year to this year, of the 10 tests that we're accountable for, we were up on average 7 percentage points. So, and like I said, we celebrate with the staff. They've worked extremely hard. 44 middle schools in Macomb County. Of the 10 tests, we're in the top 10 in Macomb County out of those 44 schools in 9 tests, and we were in the top 5 and 6. So 60% of the tests of the 10 that we're accountable for, we scored top 5 and 60% of them. So we're going to start, and we're happy about that, but we're not going to stop there, and we're going to start getting better there and start looking at Oakland County and using that as our bar.
Very good. Thank you.
Questions?
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any further questions about the beach scores for me? I do want to say that we are working hard. We're still going through this data. There's a lot of data we'll look at. We're working with our teachers, doing item analysis, trying to do everything we can to make sure that we continue to show that improvement. And our teachers work very hard to make sure that our students are going to improve. So by no means do I want everyone to think that that's the picture of our school, because Richmond is so much more than those test scores. But unfortunately, that's the way the state measures us. So we're going to continue to improve. And NWA is one of our best support systems that we have right now to help with that, and actually individualize student and differentiate learning by students and looking at where they're at within their individual licks or each grade level, being able to go down, and it actually helps show you that this student is ready for this learning at this time, so we can start looking at small group instruction and different ways that we can help push students to that next level.
Thank you. You're still standing there, Anthony.
I am.
For the preschool Great Start.
Preschool Great Start. Since the last board meeting, I wanted to give you an update as we move forward with the expansion of our preschool program. We did have an opportunity to speak with Ms. Miller and Ms. Corby. We want to continue to involve them in our conversation as we move forward. We're able to give them a big checklist that follows the creative curriculum, so we can see where we're at with our current classroom supplies, so we can start to put together a budget to have an idea of what we might need to add to our current supplies. And then as we're looking at training and such for the creative curriculum, and then our Great Start implementation, which again we will not find out until possibly as late as the fall if we're accepted, but we'd like to have that Great Start program as well. So we're working through the same process. Our model has from the same update as last meeting, where we'd like to expand our tuition-based program to either 3 or 5 days a week. We'd like to keep that's for our 4-year-olds. We'd like our 3-year-old program to be 3 days a week, both following the creative curriculum. We'd like to expand our child care so that we can offer from 6:30 a.m. until 6 p.m. with the option to, for students that might be enrolled in our tuition-based program, have the opportunity to have directed, for students that are in our 4-year-old or 3-year-old program that are there for half the day. The other half of the day they could be in childcare, and we would have directed activities that would be aligned with the curriculum. So it's a childcare program and it's aligned to the creative curriculum as well. We're looking at also at creating an early childhood wing within the construct of the bond. We've got a couple alternate bids that we would send out for putting a door to kind of close off that hallway that the principal, that the office is on, so we would be able to use those rooms to have our 3-year-old, 4-year-old program, Great Start program, ECSE, Head Start, and our child care room would all be housed in the same area with a separate entrance over to the side.
Can I just stop you?
Yes.
Did you say that the costs of that, something with the bond money, is that what you said?
We have an alternate bid to put a door in the hallway. If we have funds available in the bond, we would add that. They're already adding, per the bond, the vestibule at the end of the hall with an entrance there, so that would be our interest there. We would like to, if the funds are available, that would be one of the options that we present to you, to put a door there so that wing would be a separated area.
Okay.
We're going to continue to work now that we have the preschool wish list back. Due to the snow days last week, we weren't able to get through it. It is a pretty extensive list. This is printed by Creative Curriculum, but it gives us a good idea of what we already have on hand and what we might need to add in order to make both our Great Start classroom, which would come out of the Great Start funds, and our own tuition-based classroom ready to go for next year. So we're going to start putting this together so that the board has an idea of what that budget would look like as far as how much money we might want to put into this program as an investment to our early childhood center. And we have a wish list on top of that from Ms. Miller and Ms. Corby as to things that they'd like to see with the program, such as possibly an outdoor garden area within that area for gross motor skills, and how we might build in gross motor skills using smart boards, technology, things like that. We are also working on advertising with the hopes that by the end of the week that we would be able to send out a flyer advertising our new program. Questions?
Yeah, I had a question. In regards to the child, the before and after care, are you going to be mixing in the grade, the K through 4 kids with those kids, or is that going to be a separate program?
We would. What do you mean by that?
In the latchkey. So are you, if you have 3 and 4-year-olds in the latchkey, the before and after care, is there going to be kindergartners in there through 4th graders mixed in with them?
After school?
Before and after care.
Before, okay, so before and after school, it really depends on our staffing needs. We're going to have to staff it as so that we're able to support this. So if we only have 5 kids, then they might have to be mixed together. But if we're able to, depending on what age groups we have there, we're going to be able to bring the staffing in to separate those age groups. So I can't tell you until we have a bigger idea of how many students will be taking advantage of that program.
Are you allowed to, I'm just asking, do we look into that? Are we allowed to mix 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds with grade school children? Because I thought there was a...
You're able, the problem, you drop down to the lowest, your staff ratio changes. So that's the difference. Okay.
Mr. Wright, do you want to say something back there?
Yes.
I thought maybe.
Mrs. Miller can speak to this even better than any of us. We already have our youngest children separated after school. The youngest children go with Ms. Ford, while the other children go with Ms. Miller here. So that could be something we could do going in the future.
But they're not 3 and 4-year-olds.
Correct.
No, but they wouldn't be with all the other children, but they could be with.
That's our goal. Our goal is to divide it as best we can. It just depends on our staff.
Right, because you were just saying it was like a structured, center-based.
For during, so if, for example, a 4-year-old comes to our tuition-based program 5 days a week, they would have the opportunity then, if that's in the morning, to stay the afternoon after that, so 12 to whenever, and that portion.
That is structured.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions?
I do, but I will wait in case anybody else.
You probably asked the same question on there.
Well, why don't you ask
If
them?
we're going to advertise this at the end of this week, what are the budget implications?
Well, our budget implications right now will be possible added staff, but we would be adding staff proportionate to the number of students that we would have. So the program is currently self-supported. We would be doing that in the same fashion. We will have to add a Great Start teacher, but that Great Start teacher is funded through the Great Start program.
Are we going to advertise a Great Start program at the end of this week?
We would advertise it, but we have an asterisk next to it saying pending state approval.
And this is how other districts do it that have offered it for years. I mean, it's not, this is just because of the way the funding comes through, very similar to our at-risk funding. We never know what our at-risk funding is for the year until the spring, once. So it's not quite the same because actually the at-risk funding is worse, because until they have identified how many students are eligible for at-risk and then they divide the pot up accordingly, that's when you find out what your actual allocation is for the year.
But we're going to have to hire a full-time teacher.
And that'll be
certified teacher.
right, and the hiring of that individual will be contingent on the grant funds. So if the funds were not there, then we would release the staff person.
So that's all federal, it's a federally funded program, so that's.
It's state.
State. Oh, sorry, state funded program, that's self-sufficient in that sense. But Anthony, you just said that our current program is self-funded, essentially, right? So the expenses, and that is based on not having a Great Start program.
That's correct.
So potentially we have students who will be able to qualify for the Great Start program that currently are in a tuition-based program.
That is correct. We're hoping, and that's one of the reasons why we want to spend some money on advertising this year and get the word out now. It's our hope that early childhood education is a commitment to the state, and it needs to be a commitment to Richmond. It's what feeds all of the elementary and our test scores as we're going forward. So we're hoping that we are able to, by offering the Great Start program, grow our program in a fashion that we'll be able to support both. We're not talking about getting rid of our tuition-based program. It more than supports itself right now, so we might not be able to offer both the 3 and 5 day a week, but sure. we would definitely be.
But potentially from a financial perspective, that could cause a substantial change, and the tuition-based program would no longer be self-sufficient if we have students who go into the Great Start program. Am I making sense? Or
that's
right. So potentially there would be a financial shift for us to have to consider with moving forward with that plan. I guess is what I'm trying to clarify.
There is that potential,
okay.
And it's probably a little greater within the first year.
Right.
We would hope that as an investment in the program, that we would continue to support the program as we move forward, and that it's just going to continue to grow. We think we're making it more attractive by working with the surveys that Mr. Benoit has done for what parents are seeking, and by upgrading some of the things in the classroom that we want to bring to you to show you that that really, quite frankly, needed to be upgraded a while ago and got a little neglected. This is really shed a light for us to have an opportunity to look at that and upgrade that program in general.
And we really want to have more of our families who have their children here and expect to come to kindergarten involved in preschool. And presently, we don't have that large a percentage. So we feel that their potential is there for us to increase the involvement. And if we make it easier for families with their work schedules, with the child care and more days of preschool, that it will meet more of the needs that they're looking for. And to get the funds from the state for families that might not elect to have preschool because of funding, that's just a wonderful extra benefit that brings resources into the community that will be respent within our community.
As you know, I don't sit on the Budget and Finance Committee, and I don't have a real clear picture because I'm seeing where we're at for budgeting for next year. I don't have that clear picture, but I guess that's just it would be nice to have
an idea of
What the numbers are.
where
yeah.
that's all at, I guess.
And what's the target, or what additional people do you think you're gonna get in the long run when they start kindergarten, so?
Well, Mr. Bernard did a study, and I forget the exact number, but I think
There's
it's
a
somewhere
break-even
where
point, how many kids do we have to go after?
90% of the kids from preschool went on to our kindergarten, somewhere right in there.
So we should be able to figure out a target number of people, and what's the break-even point if we get X number of kids in here?
We
should
did,
pay for it.
we
yeah.
did have discussion about that, and Vicki did a budget that had a number for what we picked was a break-even point. I don't recall what that is right now, but I could certainly send that out to you.
I don't need I personally don't need the number, but I just need, is it attainable or not? If it's not feasible, then we would want to go after it, but if we think it's attainable.
Oh, I think it's attainable.
Okay.
The Great Start program has, we have 18 seats, that's what we're applying for?
16 seats.
So we're at $112,000 basically for the Great Start program that funds would be coming into the school for one class. Now, that curriculum we have to purchase.
Yeah, the teacher would be funded out of that, the curriculum and any of the classroom supplies, which means it would be a bigger hit the first year out of that, but we would be able to fund that out of the Great Start.
And we're also going to adapt that curriculum into our normal preschool program?
That is correct. We want to make both
Okay.
preschool programs.
Then therein comes my question, when you talked about the wish list that was put together, and you have that nice big thick thing that you showed. So where does that come in? What does that mean, the wish list, the cost of it, the whole thing? Because we want them to be even or up to par with each other, correct? I mean, that's
Yep. Yeah,
what we
that's-
offer
that's our
here,
goal.
we want to offer here. So when you're talking about a wish list, what does that mean monetarily? I mean, how little things you're saying that things have been down here for so long and we got to build them up. What's the cost of that?
And that's what we're working on right now, going through that list and putting a dollar amount so we can have an idea of what we can afford this year, maybe next year, over the next 2 years to support that program, or make it even at the same level that we would for the Great Start program as it comes in. We don't have a dollar amount on all of those yet. We're working through finding what would be the most important part of those to have. And one of the things that we want to do is meet with some of the manufacturers of this so they can help us with that, and also our Great Start and early childhood coordinators from Macomb County.
Okay, so then the answer really is that we don't have any idea.
We don't have a bottom line on that amount right now, no.
We need to use some of the funds that the preschool program has generated for this year, for part of this year, and then I think part of it out of next year's budget with that program, and start looking at the reinvestment of those dollars a little bit closer.
Do we have a specific dollar amount as to what that fund is at this point, as to how much money is currently there generated from the preschool program? Right. At all?
Say it again, Vicki?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was about 20,000.
I mean, from a curriculum committee perspective, we heard these things, and early childhood education is where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think the three of us were certainly sitting and saying, yay, good for us that we're making these advancements, we're making this change. It's long overdue, and it's a great thing. I guess I just assumed that the financial piece had been heard by some financial folks to make sure that
we were all on the same page with all of that is moving forward.
I think we're all on the same page that this is a great opportunity and a great way to invest our money in the school. And I think this early childhood education is a place that we need to invest.
Sure.
So.
Sure it is.
But we're not making any decisions tonight, so once budget finance can go through and
Well,
once they get the numbers too.
no, we're certainly saying we want to go forward with
Exactly,
it.
but I'm saying we're not voting, and I'll just say,
But we can't.
we gotta wait till the numbers come in too, right? What Jeff was saying.
Well, no, the
We do
reality
need
is
to
we're.
recruit students because
Right now,
the
yeah.
recruiting
Right.
students is the way that it gets funded.
But what if we recruit students and we don't have the money to pay for what we're intending to do?
If we don't have a sufficient number to run a class, then we don't
Have that class.
have that class.
But
Or
we're gonna
if we
invest in
are close,
equipment.
then we try to find some more kids.
But we're going to invest in equipment and updating a classroom. So that's an investment that we're doing no matter what? Is that what you're saying?
Well, we currently have that investment, and so we need to support that investment
But what I'm
to
saying
make
is
it
that-
what it needs to be.
And I completely agree with that.
Because in previous years, the supplies and so forth have come out of the elementary supply budget. It needs to be a separate budget, so it's easier to see the detail on it for those individual classes.
But I think the point of Tracy's question, and if I'm off base, tell me, is that, even going to my question, you're talking about a wish list, what you've got to do to get it to a certain point, and that's where we don't know what that amount is and where that's going, right?
Because it's a sunk cost, right? You're worrying about you're gonna put money, and if it never gets out off the ground, then we don't wanna waste money, but.
Well, I don't, and I mean, it just goes back to the same, what I said a little while ago. I don't know what's happening with budgeting for next year. If we're asking for cuts to happen, if we're asking for any of those kinds of
That's
things.
because we haven't got to that point, you're right.
And so, I mean, it's going to be difficult to make plans for something for next year that's investing money in something that is long overdue. And I'm saying it's long overdue.
And, and it's not that we won't continue to use some of the equipment that we have, and probably most of it, but it may be used in a different way, and we'll have our childcare area for the preschoolers that we're going to need supplies for too. So, it would make sense to use the creative curriculum in our guidance for the purchases that we need to make. And in visiting and looking in more detail with Mrs. Miller and Mrs. Corby, we can see that we do need to make some, regardless of whether or not we expand the program or we don't. We need to improve those classrooms. And to offer more choice for our parents, I think will make it more attractive for us to have more children involved in those potential kindergartners that we have involved in preschool, and that will only help them and help our school district in the long term.
So without being on the Budget and Finance Committee, I don't know, as a group, whether we can say that's one of our priorities, and, we're gonna put a dollar threshold or to the committee to say, when you're looking at the Budget and Finance, we can look at spending this amount and make sure we spend that amount to get this.
Yeah.
Without everyone being involved in calling another meeting. We can just decide now that it is a priority, and how much money do you think we want to give that committee to, hey, this is what we think we need to play with, and this is a priority, and make it in there.
Yes and no. Because I think that when we're talking about budget and finance, we're going to meet in the workshop that we want to do. At that point, at the workshop, that's when whatever information that they have, they present to us, and then we decide, okay, this is the right dollar amount to go towards that. Hopefully that they're going to have better information to give us a month from now.
Right.
But with the idea that if this is the direction we think we need to go, and I think we're all sitting here saying we do. And so, and the idea is we're at the time of year where you have to advertise that you're going to do it. You have to get the interest to come in. So if, as a board, that's the direction we want to go, then we have to look in the next month when it comes to budget time, exactly what's going to go. Because we have not, as a budget and finance committee, we don't have numbers of what he's talking about, so.
Yeah, we did a
that's really where
preliminary
we're at.
budget based on what we have, our history has been. But then when we visited the classrooms, we feel that we're going to need to make a bigger supply budget. Just because we need to have that reinvestment regardless of whether we expand the program. If we're going to have preschool, we need to do a reinvestment in those classrooms.
Just for future reference, I guess it would just be nice to have the whole picture, the whole plan presented at a time, so you could look at the whole part of all the pieces to the puzzle as we move forward. Because it feels like maybe that hasn't quite happened. So, I mean, go early childhood. It needs to happen. So that's a good thing.
Yes. Okay.
So
Moving
Anthony,
on.
how long is it going to take you to put that that ROM or rough order of magnitude together?
We can go through this in a week. In my opinion,
Well, you're going to have it for whatever date is needed for our.
15?
That basically gives you a week.
Well, I mean, that's, those kind of numbers need to be
Yeah.
with us at Budget and Finance at our April 15th meeting, so.
Also, Anthony, did you say that you had the flyers ready to go, to be mailed out? Can we see those?
To go to the printer.
To go to
We
the
didn't-
printer.
we didn't-
Can we look,
Yeah.
or, because I'm curious what's going on comparable to the other school districts?
Can we, while we're looking, can we move on to the
All right.
art and Spanish?
Last item I have, as we move forward, and one of the reasons that we wanted to bring this up at this meeting is for our flyer, for advertising purposes. There was, after discussing this with the curriculum committee, and it was discussed with the budget and finance committee and the views in our visions, that there is a great interest to move away from the Chinese foreign language program. The community strongly supports a foreign language at the elementary level. They think that it would be better serve us if it were to tie into the foreign language courses that we currently offer, which is Spanish at the middle school and high school. And they would also like to see a return of art at the elementary, taught by visual art taught by a certified art teacher. After discussing this with the curriculum committee, we feel the best way to move forward with it would be to have one FTE position, one full-time position that would be split half Spanish, half art for budget purposes. So we're looking for approval for that posting.
Okay, there's a sample resolution, if we want to do that, and then we can discuss.
I move to approve the posting of the one FTE Spanish/art position for the 14-15 school year.
Support.
Dan? Okay. Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
Just make it clear, I was looking for one FTE for each of these areas, not one for total, but at least it's happening.
Well, and to make it clear, that's what the Budget and Finance Committee was interested in doing as well.
Okay.
One of each?
There really isn't
If I'm
time
not
in the
mistaken.
schedule.
Other schools do it with some really creative scheduling, so
Yeah, I think.
Well-
want us to be looking for that for the future, so that all kids have these opportunities.
But we could
not
do
just
it.
some.
Change the resolution.
But it would impact are having to give other assignments to our regular staff because they would have more prep minutes so you would be, in fact, looking at more than 2 positions. You would be looking at more like 3 with the additional time that would create within the rest of the teaching staff's calendar.
The budget implications, it's an addition of 1 FTE, but we're losing the Chinese teacher as well, right?
That's correct.
So it's a wash, right?
No, it's not a wash because we would pay retirement on this individual. They would be part of our bargaining unit, so it would not be a wash. We pay MSU $45,000 for our Chinese teacher, plus we had some other offsets with what we were doing with that risk. So that created like about another $20,000. And a new teacher would cost us around $60,000.
So is the plan to look for 2 part-time people, a part-time Spanish and a part-time art? Or are we going to post it as a part-time, a full-time, hoping to find someone who's certified to do both?
We will be looking at our current staffing needs first of all, and then posting accordingly for what is needed. And we may post it both ways to see what we get.
There was discussion at curriculum that it'd be tough to find one that was certified in both, and that was a concern.
It is, but you know, you just never know.
Oh, exactly.
Because we have someone who is Spanish and math, and that's not a combination you find very frequently either.
Okay. Anybody else?
Wait,
Sure.
I thought when we were in our meeting, we talked about how, please correct me if I'm wrong, we were going to have one special computer, one day phys ed, art, Spanish, music, correct? Isn't that what we figured out, one a day?
You had that idea, but it just doesn't work.
Can you explain again why? Why doesn't it work again? Isn't that
Because it creates too many
but it
prep
was our
periods
discussion.
for our other general ed teachers. So they would have to either be assigned or not have a full schedule, and they have to have a full schedule. So we will either do it every other time or rotate by quarters or a different type of schedule.
But the teachers get a prep every day, correct? They get 50 minutes a day?
They get 250 minutes a week.
And didn't we look at 5?
Is there a library visit along in there at some point too? Is that what library?
No. Only with their teacher.
Okay. Maybe the best way is to move forward with this because it's a beginning, and then knowing for sure that, trying to come up with a creative schedule to make it happen so that every kid gets Spanish, every kid gets art once a week is the direction we hope to move to.
Well, it's hard for me to visualize, because you don't know how much money in the budget is for other things. So is it an option to make a resolution to approve up to 2 full-time positions to give some of the flexibility based on the budget criteria? If there is a budget, you can go after 2. If you don't have the budget, you just get 1. but then there's options.
We don't
up
have the
to-
budget right now, unless something unexpected happens, we don't have the funds.
But we have funds for one.
Well, it's the desire of the two committees to have this position.
'Cause to me, it
To
comes
have
down
this, to
whatever
have
your
this
priorities
program.
are. So-
And it, I don't think there's intention to cut our foreign language.
I'm just saying,
program.
if you did that, then there's flexibility as opposed to
Well,
approving one.
But there's
and then-
always the flexibility. This motion right here is a start. Based on budget, the budget talks, the workshop that's going to happen, something could come of that, and something different could happen. We can always come back and change our direction. You know what I'm, based on what we're looking at. We have, you know, there's some things that are happening that could impact the budget in a positive way.
Right.
So,
That's why I'm thinking if the resolution said you can approve up to 2 for this, that doesn't mean you're gonna. If the budget says you only got 1, you only get 1.
Basically, what we're asking for is to change the program of our foreign language at the
Chinese
elementary from Chinese to Spanish based on the input from the survey that was done and the Budget and Finance Committee recommendation and the Curriculum Committee's recommendation.
And adding in our component. Whether that's 2 teachers. Trust me, if our budget allows us to have 2 teachers, that is obviously the best model that we can offer. I can't, until we
Right.
further down that budget path, I can't. I'll be more than happy to come back and ask for another teacher.
And if we post the positions or, you know, then once we have some candidates, and we know more of what the finances are from the state level, we're just in a better overall position.
so, we have a motion. We'll go forward with this motion, see what happens, and if there's anyone that thinks now that they don't want to go in that direction, or we can keep the motion as it is with the idea of looking when our budget workshop and all of that comes about, where we're going to have a little better picture, maybe we can do something different. Mhm. Yeah, we can always come back.
I believe this is a positive start.
I believe you're right. Okay, I'm going to do a roll call. Rob?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Bridget? Jeff?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you. EnviroClean contract extension. Vicki?
Okay, EnviroClean's been our custodial contractor since July of 2010. And we went out to bid a year later, and we had a contract that's in effect now, starting in July 2011. I have a typo in here. That contract expires this June, so June of 2014. And typically, we would go out to bid for another 3-year contract and see what pricing we could get. EnviroClean approached us about renewing their contract for 1 year, the exact contract that we have right now, or the exact price that we have right now for 1 year. And one of the reasons that would be a good thing is because we're going to have the construction going on this summer. And our facilities will be in disarray, and we will have some moving of classrooms to get some of the construction done, some of the projects done. And last time that we had construction, EnviroClean was very helpful in getting those rooms cleaned out, the equipment stored, the furniture stored, and then putting them back in the classrooms and getting the classrooms ready for school to start. And the time frame is a very short time window this summer that we have to have construction done and be back in the classrooms and have the classes ready. So it doesn't seem to be a perfect time to initiate a new custodial service. And from what the feedback I've gotten from administrators is they are happy with their EnviroClean service in their buildings with the staffing, and they have always been very helpful in getting, doing the things that we need done. And this summer is going to be one of those summers that we're going to need the extra help and extra cooperation. So this would also give us a stable cost for the 14-15. We know what our costs are now for the next year. So we propose, and we'd like to have the custodial contract renewed for one more year. What I'll do then next year is we'll go out to bid like we normally would for a 3-year contract this time next year.
Okay.
And I move to renew the EnviroClean custodial contract for 1 year under its current terms.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call. Excuse me. Andy?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Bridget? Dan?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Vicki. Thank you, EnviroClean. Yay!
Yeah, Mr. Taylor is here representing EnviroClean. I don't know if you know John Taylor or
Thank
not,
you.
but he is the supervisor of this particular group.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Okay, your last item is the Neola update on the Criminal Justice Information Security System. That now the state has changed the law so that we need to initiate and manage the information on the fingerprinting process. They changed this back and forth, just made it a little bit more work than if we'd have kept it in the first place. So they've given the changes that needs to take place with our Neola policy, unless you have any questions.
And we already did our first reading last month, so this is our second.
Pretty straightforward.
Yep. So motion would be in order.
Move to accept the edited Neola updates of fingerprint policies 8142 and 8321 as a second reading.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion, any questions on any of them for the second reading? It's been moved and supported. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next, public comments. Our second public comment portion of the meeting, certainly.
Stewart, and I might be able to shed a little light on the scheduling issue, because I'm the one that lives it, and so in layman's terms, I might be able to explain it. We used to have 5 specials, 50 minutes a day. Every teacher had 50 minutes prep every day. We rotated between the 5. We had 770 students in our building. Our students dropped, so we went from 5 specials to 4. So we still supported 4 full-time teachers, but because our students dropped, we had 4 specials, and we rotated the specials every 4 days. So the teachers still had their 50-minute prep every day, but like you'd have gym every 4th day, art every 4th day. So they still had the 50-minute block every day, but we only had 4 subjects. Our student count dropped further, so we couldn't support 4 full-time specials teachers. We went to 3. We rotated that special every 3 days. The teachers still had their 50-minute prep every day. We supported 3 full-time subject special teachers, okay, because of the enrollment drop. We added Chinese. Now, when you add Chinese, what most people don't understand is you add Chinese as more prep time for the classroom teacher. So like someone like me, I'm the PE teacher. I'm right here full-time. You add Chinese now, my load goes down, because they're not going to give the teacher 300 minutes of prep. They're all going to stay at 250. That's what the contract says. So Chinese, we add, my assignment goes down proportionally. Okay, so that's okay. So we took on St. A's. That's where I stayed, when the specials teacher stayed the full-time status. So we go to Chinese, Now, to stay that full-time status, we took on St. A's. Okay. So we supported St. A's, our 3 specials teachers plus Chinese. Okay. So we still have our 250 minutes prep, so that's where we are. Now, if we eliminate Chinese and we add 1 teacher, you can call it any subject you want. With St. A's, we can support 4 full-time specials teachers. Okay. Specials teachers have a full load, teachers get their prep, so you can call that special teacher whatever you want. But our numbers will support 4 full-time specials teachers as long as we teach St. A's. So I don't know if that helps you or not. Now we add 1 more teacher. Like let's say you want a full-time art and a full-time Spanish. Well, you've got these 4 specials teachers now. You add another one, their minutes drop. Okay. So you could have 5 subjects with 5 less than full-time teachers. Well, that doesn't work very well. So like let's say, you know, you got the computer teacher now, instead of being full-time, she's 0.8. And then the music teacher is 0.8 because there's not enough students to support the 5 full-time teachers. And you're not going to give the classroom teachers 350 minutes prep. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to make them an hour-long class. So that's the determination with, it has to do with numbers. It doesn't have to do with the subject necessarily. And I think the thought was to split them is that they could have Spanish the first semester and art the second, and then flip-flop the teacher schedule. So that like maybe 3rd and 4th grade would have art the first semester, and the younger kids would have Spanish the first semester, and then flip them like that. So that everyone's getting a half a year of it as a start. But the reason why, it's like you can say, well, why can't we have 5? Well, if we had 770 students, we could support 5. And if we want 5 subjects now, all 5 of those people would not have a full-time assignment in their subject area. And that, I don't know if that explains it any better, but when you add 1, like when we added Chinese, suddenly I got less of our kids' time. Which is why St. A's, I mean, came in handy, you know, but if we added Chinese and suddenly I have these hours in the day that I'm not teaching, well, then I got to do something, you know, because I'm a teacher, you're not supposed to be teaching. And so it's really a numbers game rather than a subject game. And I don't know if that explains it any better or not, but.
It helps out.
Yeah, that helps out.
When we had 770 students, we had 5 specials, everybody had 50 minutes a day, but then we dropped and we got rid. So like, we've made it work. But that's the answer to the question. It'd be nice to have 5 full-time people, but right now our numbers don't support it.
Yeah, I come from a bigger district, so that's what we do. Thank you so much for clearing
Okay.
that up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Anybody else?
I'm Teresa Ranger, REA President, and I want to thank you as the board for voting for art/Spanish. It is much needed, and I think the community will be happy, I know the teaching staff will be happy, so thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Ann Durst, secretary teacher at the Lee School. I would like to thank administrators and board members that came from Arches Reading Month to read to our students. Deb Shine, John Modell, Tracy Bartel, Sue Bevin, Dr. Olson. Payment was wonderful, and if you get a chance to ask Mr. Bordeaux, he does a great job with Fox on socks. Somebody asked him about it. And I just want to think, and I just wanted just one other tidbit, as I am the Lego lady, of course, that I am called out in the community. It's quite funny. I just want to let you know that I went from last year from 65 students to 140 this year. So I'd like to thank Mrs. Bastian, Jody Bastian, who comes in and helps me on Tuesdays. I have 75 kids on Tuesdays and 65 on Thursdays. But it's done a lot of fun. So I'm always looking for Legos. So I'm doing a donate Lego. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, agenda items at the next meeting. We will be doing our high school top 10, Mrs. Michon, correct? And Lee Elementary will be our spotlight. there anything else other than those two things? I don't think so, right? That's pretty much, yeah, okay.
For now.
Okay. Then we have finished our business and we are adjourned at 9:30.